डन है, हो गया। चालू है। हाँ, लगता नहीं है। हेलो। मुझे तो पता ही कहाँ से उठा रहा है, कैमरा में से आ रहा है वो उठा रहा है। थोड़ा सा आगे। हेलो हेलो हेलो।
वाईफाई का पासवर्ड क्या है? कुछ नहीं, कुछ
ताज 12345
क्या?
ताज 12345
ताज 12345
स्मॉल कैप
हेलो 1 2 चेक।
than 2 decades in securing, safeguarding cyberspace. With multiple national, international interventions, the organization has been successful in spreading the spirit of cyber peace to create a more resilient digital era. Cyber Peace Foundation endeavors to make the internet a more secure, stable, trustworthy, and inclusive place for all netizens across the globe. As a non-partisan collective, CyberPeace unites expertise, experiences, capacity, and intent across the broad spectrum of institutions, disciplines, and culture in order to combat the common threat of cybercrime. BSI Learning is an organization known for creating and establishing learning experiment career pathways for students and skilled professionals in Australia. With the remarkable work and presence of BSI Learning has led to a lot of successful careers in various fields and industries. BSI Learning is committed to delivering a learning experience that produces beneficial change for both people and organizations. By doing this, BSI Learning ensures that the training, design, and delivery are both appropriate and specific. This is done with the aim not only on the people and their performance, but also on the bottom line results of the organization. BSI Learning was an integral part of the Australian FSI mission in India in April 2003. Today, we are here to celebrate the collaboration between CyberPeace and BSI Learning in for the launch of Australian cybersecurity qualifications. In the era where the sectors and industries are impacted by technology, cybersecurity is more important than ever. And to address this, we need competent, talented, and motivated professionals. In the current times, we see a skill gap in terms of cybersecurity experts, and hence today, CyberPeace and BSI Learning have come together to address the existing skill gap. I thank all of you joining this afternoon. Please scan the code that you find on your tables for today's agenda. I now request Ms. Catherine Gallagher, Ms. Kala Philip, and Colonel Seven Sam to please light the diya, symbolizing the enlightenment that comes from knowledge and the pursuit of cybersecurity. Symbolizing the enlightenment that comes from knowledge and the pursuit of cybersecurity.
Hello. Hello.
I thank you all for joining us for the Diya lighting. We have all gathered here today to recognize the factor that influence and increase the skill gap and restrictions in new learnings and to create a new generation of learned and skilled professionals who will address the challenges and issues of emerging technologies in the times to come. In an age where our daily lives, businesses, and critical infrastructure are increasingly intertwined with the digital realm, the importance of cybersecurity cannot be overstated. The exponential growth of technology has brought immense opportunities, but it has also exposed us to unprecedented risks. As the cyber landscape evolves, so too must our ability to defend against threats. Today, we convene to celebrate a momentous occasion, the launch of new cybersecurity qualifications. These qualifications are not just piece of paper or a digital badges. They represent our dedication to cultivating a generation of cybersecurity professionals who will safeguard our digital world. They are testaments to our commitment to bridging the alarming skill gap that has hindered our collectively security. The need of skilled cybersecurity professionals have never been more urgent. Cyber attacks continue to grow in frequency and sophistications, causing immense harm to individuals, organizations, and even nations. According to recent reports, the World Economic Forum identifies cyber threat as one of the top global risks, alongside climate change and infectious diseases. It is clear that cybersecurity is not just an IT problem, it is a global challenge that demands our collective attention and action. The qualification we launched today are pathways to cyber empowerment. They signify expertise, dedication, and a readiness to defend against digital threats. They are key to unlocking a world of opportunities, not just for individuals, but for organizations and society at large. With these qualifications, we equip professionals with the knowledge, skills, and the mindset needed to stay ahead in the ever-evolving cyber landscape. Let us now take a peek into the world of Australian cybersecurity qualification, which offers cyber peace and BSI collaborations through our presentation video.
Welcome to the future of cybersecurity education. In today's hyper-connected world, the need for cybersecurity experts has never been more critical. A recent survey of 2,000 cybersecurity professionals revealed a glaring reality. Organizations are understaffed in their cybersecurity teams, highlighting an enormous demand-supply gap. In 2023, the demand for cybersecurity experts is expected to reach a staggering 3.5 million, and this demand is only set to grow in the years to come. With the average cost of a data breach being $4.35 million, it has been projected that the cost of cybercrime is going to hit a staggering $8 trillion globally by 2023. This is where cyber governance skills come into play. Understanding the impact of cybercrime, recognizing cybersecurity risks, and crafting robust organization strategies are crucial. Join hands with CyberPeace and BSI Learning as we prepare you for a career of significance in cybersecurity. Launching for the first time in India, the Australian cybersecurity qualifications are recognized by the Australian government and comes under the Australian Qualification Framework, which is recognized in 21 countries, including the major players like Norway, Sweden, France, the UK, and Japan. The benchmark qualifications will not only make you industry ready, but will also open door to opportunities worldwide. These are only a few perks among many. Don't miss this opportunity to be part of the cybersecurity revolution. Enroll now and secure your future today.
Our commitment to cybersecurity education extends beyond today's launch. We will continue to invest in research, innovation, and partnership to ensure that our qualifications remain cutting edge and relevant. Moreover, we are dedicated to fostering diversity and inclusivity within the cybersecurity field, as diverse teams have been proven to be more effective in addressing complex challenges. Now we have the privilege of hearing from our first keynote speaker. Please welcome Ms. Kala Philip, CEO of BSI Learning, Australia. Ms. Kala Philip is the Chief Executive Officer of BSI Learning Institute, Australia. In her 25 years of career in education management, she has been a high school teacher, started and managed a franchisee of Z Education India in 2000, and then managed a training company in Dubai for 6 years before she moved to Australia. She has worked in several executive and management roles, developing learning solutions for industries across the Asia Pacific, such as government, telecommunications, engineering, mining, and construction transport. In her current role, she was part of delegation by Australia to launch the Future Skill Mission in India in April 2023. She has led a delegation to India in June 2023 and launching Learning Transnational Education Program by Cybersecurity in Delhi today. Ms. Kala Philip.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first transnational education launch. Today is the International Day of Peace, 21st September, and today was chosen specifically for the launch of BSI Learning and Cybersecurity qualifications. We bring our Australian qualifications to India to skill the youth in globally recognized programs, so they can be part of the future talent, not just for India, but for 21 countries around the world that are looking for skilled cyber talent. It's the era of information warfare, and protecting our organizations, our customers, the vulnerable communities, and our children takes collective intelligence and collaboration between both our countries. So in this address, I will talk about Australia's national cybersecurity strategy for 2023-2030, our key priorities as a nation, our partnership in India with Cyber Peace Foundation, and our awareness and education programs later in my presentation at 4:30. Australia's approach to cybersecurity recognizes that everyone has a role when it comes to securing our digital future, including everyday Australians. We have become all too aware of the importance of cybersecurity with national-level cyber incidents over the last 12 months. It's been a painful but important lesson for the nation. Put simply, we've been too complacent and avoided these inconveniences. Those massive data breaches resulted in millions of Australians grappling with the concept of having their personal details published on the dark web and beyond. So cybersecurity is now on top of Australia's agenda. It's now where it needs to be, in front of everyone's mind. And at times like this, as much as with bushfires and floods and global pandemics, Australians are looking to their government for leadership. So what are we doing at a government level? We have the 2023-2030 cybersecurity strategy. Our vision and goal is to be the most secure nation in the world by 2030. And it is the Department of Home Affairs' role to implement this strategy. So in July 2023, Air Marshal Darren Goldie was appointed as Australia's National Cybersecurity Coordinator to achieve exacts this government's vision. What are some of his key tasks? To ensure that Australia has a national framework to respond to opportunities and threats collectively as a nation. To strengthen the whole of government incident preparedness and to develop our cyber capability. To ensure our cybersecurity incident management frameworks are aligned and fit for purpose. To remove gaps in the whole of government mechanisms, including legislation for unauthorized data releases. And to work in collaboration with the Australian Federal Police, the Australian Signals Directorate, the Office of National Intelligence, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and other key agencies across government. Secondly, at the business level, we recognize the need for cybersecurity to be more integrated as part of organizational and personal security. It can no longer solely be the domain of the Chief Information and Security Officer or their technical specialists. Boards in Australia now have to meet minimum standards, which includes cyber literacy for directors, minimum number of cyber qualified personnel in their IT teams, and they are now held legally responsible for any cyber breaches. There is a mandatory need for all businesses in Australia to have cyber insurance coverage with a very clear list of requirements. Cyber controls, the amount of sensitive data held, the policy and procedures an organization has in place, and the physical security of the organization. Thirdly, the human element. It is found to be the weakest link in our cybersecurity defenses. Weak passwords, careless clicking, and other human online behaviors point to a widespread naivety and indifference to the threats. We recognize the need to change our cyber culture as a nation. The winds of cyber will not abate. When you can't change the direction of the wind, you need to adjust your sails. So cyber awareness is now part of our school curriculum, both in primary and high school. Awareness programs include cyber hygiene and online cyber awareness programs. The end user awareness programs are built into compliance training, just like you do work health and safety, bullying and harassment as a normal part of induction. BSI Learning Australia, together with Cyber Peace Foundation, have developed a suite of joint cyber awareness and qualification programs to be delivered in India. The Australian Trade and Investment Commission, or Austrade, has played a pivotal role with connecting Australian education providers to Indian partners. India aspires to be the global skills capital of the world by 2047. By her 100th year of independence, India will be a 35 trillion economy, the second or the third largest economy in the world. Her per capita GDP will grow 10 times, from 2,000 to 20,000. And the middle class will grow from 43 million to 100 million. And 1 in every 4th new entrant to the global workforce will be from India. This is the future India this partnership aspires to build together, the Skill India mission. India's growing middle class is spending more on education, and the lack of capacity at top-tier institutions is driving students overseas. Students are drawn to the prestige of an overseas degree and improved prospects. India aims to boost delivery capacity to meet this huge gap, and this is where we come. The Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade's India Economic Strategy for 2035 estimates the need for another 200,000 schools in India, another 35,000 colleges in India, another 700 universities, and another 40 million seats in vocational education and training. So in conclusion, we need to work together as nations, and I don't think anyone would disagree that working together, united in a common cause, all driven by a great strategy, is the best way forward. Thank you. Before I conclude, I'd just like to place some messages from my senior leadership team. Our chairman, Mick Lynch, and our group CEO, Simon Dewar, couldn't join us today, but they've sent us messages for this particular launch.
Mick Lynch, I'm the chairman of the BSI Learning Institute of Australia, and it's a pleasure to be here. We know in the last 12 months there's been a lot of government-to-government bilateral policy exchange, and that Australia is a long-term partner to India in various trade and investment initiatives. The recent MOU on vocational education and training with the Joint Task Force on Qualification Recognition has led to standardisation of VET in India. India's focus is making youth ready for global mobility. The market is ready due to skill shortages, opening of migration, and a higher education from VET pathways. We're excited to be launching our first transnational education program in cybersecurity with the Cyber Peace Foundation. We look forward to bringing the quality of Australian skills education to India. Enjoy the presentations and thank you.
Hi, I'm Simon Dewar, Group CEO of BSI Learning Group, and I'm really excited to be here today to witness the launch of BSI and a great partner, CyberPeace's Transnational Education in Cybersecurity program. BSI has been working in the arena of cybersecurity for a good number of years, and in that time we've really seen the landscape change drastically from things like protecting passwords all the way to the sorts of threats we see today in terms of our critical infrastructure and identity. And what we've learned in that time is that cyber is just as much a challenge for humans and behaviour as it is that one of technology. We believe that principles-driven approaches to learning are the key to successful education in cybersecurity because they prepare learners and workforces not just for the problems of today, but also for the problems they might face in the future. It's only through great collaborations like this and partners like CyberPeace, the sharing of resources and knowledge between countries and disciplines, and through really understanding those unique contexts and real experiences that we can really prepare those workforces for the challenges that they will face as the threat landscape continues to evolve. For me, it's also about looking at the communities that we're there to support and understanding those at a macro level needs, as well as then zooming into what does that mean for the individual roles inside of organisations who are responsible for really kind of understanding their vulnerabilities, planning for and managing their cyber risk, as well as how they respond to cyber incidents when they actually occur. For me, if we are part of ensuring a solid baseline of cyber education and awareness and knowledge, and that is built as part of the core competence for a range of roles, we know we can prepare those professionals for the challenges of the future. We know that cyber is a part, I guess, of the business acumen that's going to be necessary for the future. And so I'm really excited to see the results this program comes together and brings to the community. So thanks again. I appreciate your time and all the best with the launch.
Thank you, Ms. Kala. So up next, we have Minister Commercial, Ms. Catherine Gallagher, Senior Trade Commissioner and Head of the South Asia Austrade, gracing us with her presence. Please come. Catherine Gallagher joined Austrade in August 2019. Ms. Gallagher brings over 20 years of experience in public, private, and non-profit sectors. Early in her career, she was the Deputy Director of the Asia Link Centre at the University of Melbourne and later held the diplomat role of Counselor Public Diplomacy at the Australian Embassy in Tokyo. She has also held senior roles in marketing, brand, and communications in the private sector. Between 2012 and 2016, she was CEO of Sydney Harbour Foreshore Authority, a high-profile New South Wales state-based public trading enterprise.
Before joining Austrade, Ms. Galgo was a consultant and non-executive director on both commercial and non-for-profit entities. She holds a Bachelor of Art degrees, majoring in Japanese language, and is a graduate in Australian Institute of Company Directors. We take pride in welcoming you, ma'am.
Well, thank you. Just sitting here, I've just got this sense of privilege, pride, and excitement. I feel really privileged because I've heard so many great things about Austrade and the fact that we've actually delivered this partnership. So that's my privilege. The pride I'm feeling is hearing from Carla about the great work and strategy that the Australian government's put in place on cybersecurity. You know, when Australia does take on issues very seriously, we do it well. And that strategy overview just highlighted to me just how well we're doing it, particularly penetrating into the schools and getting in there. And the excitement I have is being in this room and just seeing what's going on. So thank you for having me. So, and in particular, I did want to say hello. I am here, and I wanted to acknowledge both BSI and the Cyber Peace teams for welcoming us all here today. Cyber Peace and BSI are both paving the way together for a safer cyber future. Over 60% of global internet users have faced some form of cyber threat in their digital journey. Within this daunting landscape, Cyber Peace has successfully initiated programs globally, empowering millions with tools and knowledge to defend against cyber threats. I commend both sides on this agreement today. It is an important step in the bilateral skills cooperation between Australia and India, and we are here as Austrade to support this momentum. The Australian Trade and Investment Commission, as we call it, Austrade, we like a shortened word, is the Australian Government's Trade Promotion and Investment Attraction Agency. We work with the Australian and Indian industries to increase investment, trade and learning opportunities with each other. One way we do this in education is through the Australia-India Future Skills Initiative that you've heard a little bit about already. We just shorten this again to FSI. And FSI is a 4-year national priority program which aims to support Australian skills training organisations to cultivate partnerships for skills delivery in India. And our catchphrase for Austrade in South Asia is always partnering for prosperity. So I say to my teams, if you're looking at those commercial relationships, I want you to make sure that it is something that is going to have benefits for both and is based on the partnership model. We're very excited at Austrade to be supporting Australian partnerships here. Australia has a world-class vocational education system and structures designed by industry for industry. Each year, 60% of Australian employers upskill and reskill their staff using the Australia's training system, with 45% of all 15 to 19-year-old Australians completing skills training each year. And it is very respected and well known in Australia. Units of competency are a key differentiator. They are the building blocks of Australian qualifications and are often tested on the job. Units of competency are also credit-bearing, which allows learners and employers undertaking Australian skills training to complete micro-credentials that lead to further learning, higher levels of competency and full qualifications. Units of competency create a great avenue for Australian providers and partners on student pathways from vocational training into industry. They are hands-on and tangible, and it is and it comes as no surprise that Australian training institutes have business certified courses by AWS, Google and Microsoft. This is all very aligned to India's skills vision under the National Education Policy 2020. In this context, our team has had the pleasure of knowing Carla, BSI CEO, since September 2021, when she joined the Australia-India Business Exchange mission in Bengaluru. AIBX, the Australian India Business Exchange, is Austrade's flagship program to strengthen Australia-India commercial links and gives businesses the confidence and capability needed to engage across the two markets. Since then, Carla and her team have been strong supporters of Australia-India skills collaboration. BSI was an active participant then on the Australia-India Future Skills Initiative and its trade mission in April 2023. And in April 2023, this first ever Future Skills mission to India was made up of a selective group of delegates highlighting Australian expertise in vocational training, education and skills. The delegation was provided with policy insights and site visits. It facilitated introductions between Australian and Indian skills and education providers, including various sector skills councils and the Indian government. And I want to thank our Indian colleagues and government reps during that visit because it gave our skills providers the confidence, capability and knowledge to know how to stay engaged with this market. We have a number of exciting initiatives in the pipeline, including an industry skills partnership summit in India early next year. Please chat with Vipul Rastogi, who's here with me, there he is, if you would like to find out how you can get involved in that mission. More broadly, and back to today's event though, this signing between BSI Learning and CyberPeace will see two organisations across two nations coming together to provide high quality training on cyber to Indian youth to protect India and Australia against the cyber threats of today and the future. It will also provide high-quality Australian qualifications in India, and I wish BSI Learning and CyberPeace all the best on this maiden venture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Now I would request Ms. Kala Philip and Major Vineet Kumar to join us on the stage to present a token of appreciation as a memoir for today's launch. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. And we hope your words will make an impact to drive the initiative to its complete efficiency and success. We're now moving into our panel discussion session, but before that, let's introduce our esteemed panelists who will be sharing their expertise in the area of government, international agencies, industries, and academia. The panel discussion is on harnessing, inculcating, fostering global cybersecurity skilling pathways, which is poised to address one of the most pressing challenges of our digital age,
With the rapid proliferation of technology and the ever-increasing connectivity of our world, cybersecurity has become a critical concern for governments, organizations, and individuals alike. This discussion will delve into the strategies and initiatives needed to cultivate a skilled and adaptable cybersecurity workforce to defend against evolving cyber threats effectively. It will explore the importance of education and training in nurturing the next generation of cybersecurity professionals while also considering the need of continuous learning and upskilling this dynamic field. Moreover, the panel will assess global collaboration and cooperation in sharing best practices to create robust skilling pathways that can be safeguard our digital ecosystems and promote a safer online environment for all. Please welcome our esteemed panelists for the day, Dr. Tripta Thakur. Mr. John Foley. Mr. Matthew Johnston. And Mr. Shrikant Sinha. Dr. Tripta Thakur is the Director General of the National Power Training Institute, an apex body of the Ministry of Power, Government of India. She was earlier head and professor of the Electrical Engineering Department at the National Institute of Technology, Manit, Bhopal. She is a graduate of electrical engineering with a master's degree in power electronics from IIT Kanpur and has a PhD from IIT Delhi. She has teaching and research experience of 28 years and has nearly 100 publications to her credit. Mr. John Foley. John leads EY's government and public sector cybersecurity team. He has over 20 years' experience as a cybersecurity and resilience professional, working across defense, government, infrastructure, and healthcare. John's career highlights include leading and UK government's largest cyber capacity building programs, working with national authorities to protect CNI from cyber harm, helping clients to secure funding of cybersecurity through strategy development, operating model design, and implementation planning, mentoring specialist law enforcement department to prosecute cyber criminals and combat online child exploitation, building the testing resilience at the highest level of the government. Mr. Matthew Johnston. Matthew Johnston is the Minister Counselor for South Asia, covering India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, and is based at the Australian High Commission in New Delhi. Prior to his appointment as Minister Counselor, Matthew was a counselor at the Australian Embassy in Brazil. In this role, he helped and established the Brazil-Australia Centre for Internationalization of Education as a platform for showcasing and profiling Australia's excellence in higher education, negotiated a memorandum of understanding with the Brazilian Confederation of State Research Foundation to increase joint research activities, including the inaugural Australia-Brazil virtual research collaboration and increased awareness of Australia's industry-informed vocational educational system across Brazil, including through pilot program and training between Brazilian and Australian providers. Working at the Australian High Commission in New Delhi, Matthew is responsible for strengthening and expanding Australia's educational bilateral relationships across South Asia. Mr. Shrikant Sinha, CEO of TASK, that is Telangana Academy for Skills and Knowledge. His major role is enhancing the employability for the youth in Telangana under the Department of ITE&C. Government of Telangana. He has been responsible for onboarding government degree, colleges and polytechnics, multiple industry partners, as well enhanced the offerings at task. His priority has been in increasing focus on rural areas of the state, as well as to promote skilling and placement of girls and the underserved communities. With the onset of the COVID pandemic, he has been spearheading the transition of conventional training programs to virtual mode and initiated several webinar series on the various subjects. He is also an Executive Council member of Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University. Prior to joining TASK, he was the CEO of NASSCAM Foundation, the social development arm of the Indian IT BPM industry body. Our panelists will engage in a stimulating discussion on harnessing, inculcating, and fostering global cybersecurity skilling pathways. Let's dive into the insightful conversation, and now I request our moderator to take the discussion ahead.
Thank you very much. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to all ladies and gentlemen assembled over here, and greetings on International Peace Day. A couple of days ago, in fact, more than probably 2 months ago, I was on a similar kind of a panel where the expert was a cybersecurity expert. He was from the police force itself, who was looking after cyber crimes, and he was talking about the kinds of attacks that are happening. And one of the discussions which was happening was on the Fortune 500 companies. And he said 495 of those were actually attacked during the last 2 years, right? And when the statistics came up, some of us on the panel thought that, it will be important for us to understand what were the best practices that the others were doing which kept them safe. So we said, what were the good things that they were doing? They said, no, probably they weren't even aware that they were also attacked. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the reality today. I think each one of us have been, our passwords have been compromised so many times. You go to Twitter and it says your password is on the Yahoo's list of passwords that was leaked. And I think today, if you look at it, and in fact, looking at the history of how this whole thing came about, and with the first viruses that came up, C-Ashar, I don't know, C-Brain, how many of you would be even aware of it? But yes, that was the first virus way back in 88, 89, it came about, and that's where the whole thing started changing. Things have moved a lot, and thanks to organizations like BSI Learning, Cyber Peace Foundation. In fact, Telangana also is working very closely with Cyber Peace Foundation in ensuring that we run a program called Cyber Safe Telangana. Because probably if I do a raise of hands, in this room itself, trying to understand how many of us have shared our passwords. Can I see a show of hands, please? With our friends, colleagues. Yeah, please, please. Okay, this is not to check how many of you are awake, but yes, to see actually how many of you have done it. And I don't think we should be ashamed, because I was at ISB recently and we did a program over there also, and I asked the same question. It was all PGMP, postgraduate management people who were there in that room, and 90% of the room, hands went up, right? And that's where it becomes very, very important for all of us to understand. Let me throw some more things into it. Now, everyone is talking about ChatGPT, right? I think that's the new flavor in the town. And this organization called as Home Security Heroes in US used a generative AI tool called PassGen, right? And they actually tried to go through and hack 15 million passwords, right? And no marks for guessing, but PassGen was able to break 51% of the passwords in less than a minute, right? 61% passwords in less than an hour. And I'm not talking about password like password 12345, right? Which everyone used at one time. So it was not those. These were complex passwords. 71% in less than a day, and 81% passwords were hacked out of 15 million in a month. So do you think our passwords are safe? I don't think so. So with this wonderful panel, I think we have got a very diverse panel, and I'm happy about it because we'll be able to look at the various aspects that are affecting all of us. So let me start with you first, John, because you have been in the field 20 plus years and led multiple initiatives. So if you could help us understand as to how can industry actually, or educational institutions for that matter, because you have worked on both ends of the spectrum, collaborate with educational institutions to identify and fill in the gaps in the area of cybersecurity?
Thank you. I think first and foremost is just to acknowledge it's really important that industry and academia work together. It's not only industry and academia. I think there's a real focus on public and private partnerships. So that would include, of course, industry, academia, governments, NGOs, and third sectors. And in my opinion, that will give you the best chance of solving complex cyber problems and also the best chance of building cyber skills for the future. In terms of what I've seen as good practice is academic center of excellences focused on cybersecurity and having a level of accreditation and oversight from governments to ensure that the right skills are being provided to the right people at the right time. And of course, that will be a really diverse range of skills. So we would encourage people from all ages, backgrounds, and experience, and really make sure that we have the skills that need to be focused on the future of cybersecurity and the threats that we face. From my own personal perspective, at EY, I'm privileged to lead our junior development team, and that consists of a number of digital apprentices and graduates. So at the moment, we have somewhere in the region of 60 people. And what we encourage is for people to join the practice and actually to find their own way into cybersecurity. So over a course of a 2-year period, what we will do is we will rotate our staff through a number of different disciplines in cybersecurity, ranging from strategy and governance, through resilience, data protection, and technical skills around security architecture, incident response, penetration testing, for example. And what we do on a quarterly basis is we give our junior team an opportunity to put forward a number of ideas of where they would want to go and be placed. And of course, it's important we give them a negative option as well. So if somebody is deeply technical and they don't want to be in a strategy space, we accept a negative option. And if somebody really wants to be speaking to senior leaderships and executive teams and they don't want to be in a keyboard, we would allow them to move into a more strategic role. So I suppose that is one thing that we as industry are able to do to allow a diverse range of cyber skills. Another initiative that we've launched over the course of the past year is something called EY Badges, and it allows people to do bite-sized chunks of learning in very technical or strategic skills. And if you collect enough badges and credits over the period of time, then that can be transferred into a master's degree related to STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Interesting. Thanks for that. I think you really touched upon the main thing. And it's important for us to ensure that, the badge system is a wonderful system, but that's where it'll lead to people actually doing things, bit-sized pieces, as our new education policy also talks about it, multiple entry, multiple exist, and build on your own credentials. Of course, in India, normally we say that, about 60–70% of the people who are graduating from the engineering institutions, right? If you put them to work, 80% of them will not be employable, which also talks about that. That means even lesser would be the percentage of people who would be moving into the cybersecurity area. And that's where, Matthew, let me move on to you and ask you on how are industries adapting to this new nature of cyber threats? That's one. And second thing is, does actually a skilled task force or workforce actually play a role in this?
Well, I think Carla in her opening remarks really touched upon that first part of the question very well. And, I guess sometimes, action happens either at an industry or a government level when something goes wrong. And I think, Carla really outlined that very, very clearly. And I mean, I was probably one of the customers of one of the financial institutions that was hacked in the past 12 months in Australia. And I mean, I have to be very honest, I probably didn't really pay that much attention to it until I sort of got a number of notices and these kinds of things about it. And I think that kind of complacency doesn't just sit with individuals, that can sit at a governmental level and it can sit at an industrial level as well. And I think it's how you respond that's really important. So that's fine. So you've got a government strategy, and as Catherine was saying, Australia's really gripped that up in a very strong way. I like to really think about how do individuals sort of change, and to your point about engineering graduates, whether they're able to do the jobs that are actually required now. And I think the example of BSI and CyberPeace coming together and adding sort of shorter term focused vocational qualifications that are aligned with the industry are a really critical part of this. Australia's vocational education system is quite mature. It's got sort of 40 years behind it. It is complex, but it is in its essence a partnership between government, educators and industry. And to have a skilled workforce requires nimbleness and flexibility, which can only really come when you actually institutionalize industry perspectives in education. And I think you're starting to see that in our collaboration here in India at a government-to-government level. You're really seeing that architecture maturing in India as well. And so these kinds of collaborations I hope we'll see more of to tackle exactly that kind of a problem where graduates probably theoretically know everything there is to know about it. They know it to a great level. We know India has excellent talent in this space, but how is it applied? And I think that's been one of the secrets to Australia's economic success for the past 30 to 40 years, really, has been this vocational education and training system that provides just-in-time training that allows, as Carla said, 60% of our employers to access public or private training without having to bring it in-house. It's delivered there by all our educational institutions. So I think, that has a really strong role to play in supporting businesses to adapt and to bring people into that workforce. Everyone is experiencing critical workforce challenges. I don't know where everybody went during the pandemic, but they're gone and they're not coming back, and we need to somehow all upskill and bring people from different backgrounds into this workforce.
Excellent. So definitely, and really, I think moonlighting and other things also that came about with the pandemic and things like that. So we in the educational and skill sector feel good because having been in the field of online education for 2.5 decades, I think it was a change that we saw where people actually went online. And of course, with that, more problems also started, but yes, that's what it was. And so we have spoken about the individuals, we have spoken about academic institutions. I think the third thing which is there in the whole mix is the government. So, Dr. Tripta, I would like to understand from you, and especially talking about how do you raise public awareness? How do you ensure that cyber hygiene practices and cybersecurity gets promoted amongst the public? What initiatives can the government take?
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here in this panel. And we all understand that this is a global issue, cyber. So everybody need to work together. Like climate change, we all need to fight together. Similarly, the next threat is the cyber threat, where we all need to work together to take the challenges. The government is, basically I belong to the power sector, Ministry of Power. So power is a very critical infrastructure sector. So our government is very proactive. They have come up with the clear-cut guidelines. And as you have asked me that how we are putting awareness. So government is running one Jagrukta. Jagrukta means awareness. So we have given this name as a Cyber Jagrukta Day. So in every month, one day is dedicated as a Cyber Awareness Day. So in that Cyber Awareness Day, we are giving all the, what are the best practices, how you can make yourself, your phone, your bank account, your sector safe and cyber resilient. So this is online, we are doing this kind of a training to make people aware. Also, I'm really very thankful to the government of India that they have come up with a clear-cut guidelines, and mandatorily they have given the directive that every person who is working in the power sector, whether they are working in generation, transmission, or distribution, they need to do one basic cyber certification program. It's a mandatory program. So in this way, we are putting a lot of awareness through government. But I'm really so happy because in India, with this kind of initiative, BSI as well as Cyber Peace, that in India we are facing the major challenge that there is a gap between the industry and academia. So whatever graduate engineer, because I came from the educational institute background, so I understand that there is a gap. And our engineers are not industry-ready engineers. So this kind of certification program will make them industry-ready, and especially in the cyber, because I know in my sector, the people who are working in the cybersecurity, they are either from electrical background, mechanical background, or IT background, and there is a lot of skill gap. So they have been told to take care of the cybersecurity as well. So there is a need for certification, there is a need for training, providing training, and as it's a huge number, so online platform can provide a better alternative to them. So I'll come back
Sure.
again.
Thanks for that. And in my previous avatar, since I was part of the program review and PRSG as they call it in METI for the PMG Disha program, I was instrumental in adding two things into the National Digital Literacy Mission program, which was Cyber Hygiene 101 and financial literacy. So I think, yes, it's very, very important for us to ensure, because today, with the JAM Trinity coming up, which is Jandan, Aadhaar, and mobile, I think more and more people are going ahead and using the mobile device to do financial transactions, etc., and becomes very important. And you're absolutely right when you said, people employ you for not only knowing the definition of a screwdriver, but because you have used one and you know how to use one. And that's where it becomes very, very important. And so let me move on to you, John. We have already seen over here, she mentioned about the role of international certifications, etc. But I also wanted to understand that industry recognized credentials, right? Because the people have to go into the industry. You might be operating in a SOC or a NOC or whatever it is, but unless and until it's theoretical, because that's what you are taught in your colleges and institutions. So, what role does industry recognizations, the recognized certifications play in defining and validating the cybersecurity skills? And the second part to it is, what are the emerging and how emerging certifications are gaining prominence to effectively contribute to upskilling on cybersecurity?
I'll break it down into two parts,
yes,
if that's okay. First of all, I just wanted to add it's really refreshing to hear that cyber skills are mandatory within the power sector, so such a critical sector, and it's great to hear that people are mandated to take tiered accreditation. So that's really positive to hear here today. In terms of certifications and the validation around skills that industry and other organizations want to see, in cybersecurity, there is a saying, trust. No, there's not. There's a saying, trust but validate. And I think that's the role that certifications have is, people have got great skills, we understand the skills and experiences that they have, but make sure that is validated so you have the right people, the right skills, doing the right job. Within the UK, we follow something called CyBOK, which is the Cyber Body of Knowledge, and that is focused on not only skills and certifications, it is cyber pathways, skills, and careers. So firstly, around cyber pathways linked to certification, my advice would be don't be put off by a technical certification. There is a way into cybersecurity for anybody, I'm sure, sat at this conference today. And actually what we need is, again, a really diverse set of skills and certifications that we can build and solve complex problems. An example is the team I'm currently working with is we have cyber policy and diplomacy experts. We have deep technical experts. We have people focused on awareness and culture. We have people focused on resilience. And very importantly is we have program managers and project managers who are able to keep everybody in check and make sure we work towards the right outcomes. So in terms of certifications, yes, I think there's absolutely a role. In my opinion, not necessarily mandatory. So we would give a number of people looking to enter cybersecurity a chance of doing that, and then we would invest and build on their experience over a period of time. And as I say, the certifications can be as complex as a SANS 560 penetration testing certification to give you a level of assurance around the people you are working with, right the way through to agile and Prince techniques in project management, which I see as critical certifications within the field of cybersecurity. I suppose the last thing I would add, and a certification I think is worth looking at for those who want to understand more, is something that the National Cybersecurity Centre of the UK initially commissioned and is now handed over to the UK Cyber Security Council. And that's a certification called the CCP, which is Certified Cyber Professional. And I am a certified cyber professional, and it's not an easy process to go through. So it is definitely trust but validate. And it includes a detailed application process where you will be required to give a number of case studies around your previous experience. It will also require 2 people who have worked alongside you to validate that you've delivered what you said in those case studies. And finally, it will be a technical interview, depending what discipline you want to go after. And at the moment, that is the trust and validation certification we're seeing across UK and UK government.
Interesting. And yeah, absolutely. I think what you've said over here was very, very valid, and definitely people have to have the hands-on experience. So we can't have things, and they need to be validated through certifications. In fact, last year, or probably slightly more than that, we ran a hackathon, because I think one of the best way to put people into actual test positions is running hackathons, etc. And we ran a hackathon, and the best part was we gave problems to students, and this was across India, though it was anchored out of the youngest state in India, which is Telangana. We ran this program, and the best part was one of the teams actually hacked the platform on which we were running this competition itself, right? So, needless to say that, and these were first-year students who had just entered college. So I think we need to look at people who have the right competencies, right? And today, if you look at it, most of the people who are there in the cities, etc., they would probably go for it. So let me move on to you, Matthew, and ask you a very, very important question on inclusivity and diversity. More in terms of how can we ensure that these cybersecurity pathways that we are talking about are accessible to a diverse range of individuals, including underrepresented groups. That is one. And second thing is, given a fact that in India, 60% of our students who are there in colleges today, their parents have never been to one. how does these kind of certifications play a role?
Yeah, it's a really important question. I think, I mean, even in Australia, we still grapple with, to your last point, being first in family, to undertake further education, and not grapple with, but there's still a number, and I'm an example of that myself. I'm still the first and only in my family who went to university. I like to say I'm the black sheep in my family, and they're all products of our vocational education system and sort of working and labouring and these sorts of things. So Australia, I mean, Carla touched on this earlier, but Australia has implemented in the schooling level a number of, within the national curriculum framework, cyber awareness. We also have, outside of the formal education system, the E-Safety Commissioner role, which is really important in Australia as well in terms of promoting cyber safe habits outside formal education. Exactly to your point about, well, what about those who haven't been engaged in that system? How do you do that? And so, we still have that in Australia as well. So that function and that role within the Australian government is about promoting, cyber safe habits, promoting online. They have a number of programs targeted on people whose literacy or numeracy aren't up to scratch. And these sorts of things that's targeted towards newly arrived migrant communities, people whose language is not, whose first language is not English, for example. So you need kind of a full arsenal of tools, I think, that are both formal and informal to really drive this and to be a focal point. And so you see that across the board in Australia, supported by the strategy Carla spoke about, but also implemented then formally through curriculum. The other piece of this, though, is back to my sort of first point. You need education systems that allow flexibility for learners. So sometimes people's experience of school isn't always great. And so they drop out, the NEP talks about this, they drop out of school and they then feel disadvantaged to then re-engage. So you need to have those flexible entry and exit points. Our vocational system, I'm pretty sure BSI would have a number of older learners who come back and re-skill is really, really important. And I think then to the industry sort of credentialing kind of point of view, having that embedded in a formal structure and system that allows people to sort of come back and re-engage with learning, but re-engage in a way that's practical and work-oriented and relevant for people who maybe found the academic part of school to be a turn-off, is really, really critical and important. And so you've got to be able to do that for and be kind of agnostic as to the groups, but very, very conscious of the different groups that need to be brought in. And I think I've just outlined there sort of three aspects within Australia of how we're doing that in a formal and then outside of a formal education and skilling system way.
Right. So the TAFE, etc., and all that, yes, of course, those are quite clear pathways and that works. But so coming back to the same question, what role can government play? Of course, yesterday I was part of the FICCI Global Skills Summit where Dr. Kalsi spoke about the various way where you can pick up modules and actually create a program, and the university can get approval from NCVT to launch those programs. But when we talk about these global pathways towards cybersecurity skilling, what role can government play over there?
Yeah, government can play a very, very important role, right, beginning from the school educations. Recently, I heard from the Additional Secretary Higher Education from West Bengal in one of the ISA automation conference recently in Delhi. So he was just narrating his experience that how the government of West Bengal is giving education regarding cyber, especially to the girl student in the government schools. So he's saying that it's very, very effective, and we are giving just awareness to the girls that how they will not be attacked while using mobile phone and while doing any transactions and chatting and all. So this is a very, very successful model which government of West Bengal is doing. Every state has now, you are representing Telangana Skill Council. Every state has a skill council, which are really providing a lot of support for providing skilling. And one of the basic objective for providing skilling that we are making people ready for the jobs. And the jobs are available in cybersecurity area from every hook and corner. People are really dying. I know many private agencies, they're saying they're hiring people, but they are getting good packages and they're leaving us. So there is a huge gap of skilled manpower. In schools, as India has come up with the national education policy, where we are providing a lot of flexibility. And our schools are taking initiative for giving this chance to the student. And as you have mentioned that in a hackathon, you have seen that how talented the young people are. So if we will motivate them in a right direction, talent is there in the schools. If we will give them freedom that you can choose your subject. We have been hearing through social media that a student of 12 years got the degree, PhD degree. So such kind of a talent is there. And in AICT recently, I know that they are supporting for the skill development in a massive way for engineering colleges also. So I'm sure that with a lot of government motives and support mechanism, they will be able to impart the education in the correct way so that ultimately everybody wants a good job. Like engineers, why they are going for computer science? Because they know that they are going to get a good job. So if we will provide them electives in the engineering courses that, okay, if you adopt these kind of electives, you will become a cyber trained professionals. Also, such kind of certification which like BSI and Cyber Peace, ISI I will not mention because they are too costly. So all the certification which are coming up in this way, Cyber Peace and BSI Learning, I request them that in India, the costing matters a lot. So you need to be little careful because you will get numbers only and only when they are cost-effective programs. Thank you.
I hope that Cyber Peace and BSI, okay, thanks. So there's a concept of purchasing parity. So I hope you are able to imply that here also. No, definitely, I think government is doing a lot. But yes, one thing more which I'd like to mention over here from a skilling perspective, while we are talking about cybersecurity per se, but I think it's important for students, and if anyone is here from the academia or things like that, then please as educators, it's our responsibility to help them think out of the box. And believe you me, I've gone to multiple colleges, even IITs, etc. And whenever I ask these people that how many full programs you have written, right? India is supposed to be the IT brain of the globe itself. But believe you me, in IITs it is 10. In other engineering colleges it depends between 3 and 5. During the 4 years of their education, they have just written 3 to 5 full programs, right? And that's where they only end up in the service industry. We've conducted a lot of interviews with so many people, and I asked them a very simple question. If I have to empty the Indian Ocean using a bucket, how much time will it take? Right? Very simple question. 90% of the people talk about, oh, it's impossible, it'll take time, too much, etc. No one says that it'll depend on the size of the bucket, right? And that is the kind of logical thinking that we need to ensure that our youth today, wherever they might be, should get that kind of education, that kind of skills should be given to them, that they should be able to think and then apply. Today, most of our colleges, most of our institutions are just depending on syntax. Today you are learning, earlier it was Java, then it became Python, tomorrow it will become Cobra. We don't know where it goes, but yes, that's typically what will happen. Unless and until we ensure that people actually, the fundamentals are strong. There's only one building in the world called Hawa Mahal, which is a building without foundation, right? So as educators, our thing is we should ensure that fundamentals, computational thinking, out-of-box thinking, etc., plays a key part in moving ahead. So I think, how much time do we have? Oh, it's already time up. So okay, so quick fire round question for all the 3 panelists is, in 3 words, right? What would you like to talk about for people who might be here in the room or outside, who are watching on, I believe this is being telecast live also, and ladies first. So 3 words to promote cybersecurity and certifications.
Yeah, this is very, very lucrative and we must go ahead.
I suppose I'd say diversity is needed. So regardless of your background, do consider a career in cybersecurity.
Never stop learning.
Perfect. I think that sums it up. We have had a good discussion over here. I don't think I have time to summarize it, etc. But I would just like to. I've been given a lot of time. No, and I think, but yes, I think the importance of such certification skilling pathways is very, very important. It has to be practical. It has to be tested. It has to be industry relevant. And that's where I would like to compliment BSI and Cyber Peace Foundation for coming together and launching this certifications over here. We in Telangana definitely look at it as to how, because today if you look at it, and let me also go back into the history. 2015, when I was in NASCOM Foundation, it was a room similar to this in one of the hotels nearby itself, where the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, at that time spoke about bloodless war. And he was hinting about cyber terrorism itself, right? And he called it as Rakt Vihin Yudh, and which is bloodless war, and that's what it was, where he said, why can't India show the way to the world on cybersecurity, cyber protection, etc. Today, if you look at it, I think we have just started the journey. If I look at Hyderabad itself, which is the emerging technologies capital of India as of today, and probably soon of Southeast Asia, where Bangalore is the erstwhile capital. 44% of IT jobs that were created in service especially came to Hyderabad. And we have got a whole lot of cybersecurity firms over there, right from Cotligent, which is into cyber forensics, to multiple other organizations. And today, whenever I'm skilling people for cybersecurity, I think immediately companies employ them. A whole lot of internship programs are also running, but there was no certification which was a valid certification. So we look forward to seeing how this kind of a certification gets a buy-in from the industry. And whatever I have heard over here, I think it should be very doable and possible. So we look forward to that. Thank you very much, Dr. Tupta, John, Matthew. A wonderful, it was a pleasure for me to orchestrate this panel, and thank you, Cyber Peace Foundation and BSI for helping me share some of my thoughts and orchestrate this. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for a patient listening.
Thank you so much. I would request all of you dignitaries to be please seated. Yes. Kindly be seated. Our panelists, you all have engaged, and it was a very, very engaging session. Thank you so much. We are open to any question and answer. It's a Q&A, open Q&A session.
I still have some time for my flight, so you can do questions.
No, we do have.
I'll come up with a bit of separate sort of reflection on this, not exactly question. My name is Anup. I belong to the non-profit sector. And a few months ago, I came in contact with a gentleman called Major Vineet in Jharkhand. I'm also from Jharkhand, but I'm based in Delhi for the past few months because of my engagement with certain programs or non-profit sector.
And which NGO is this?
Pardon?
Which NGO? Which not-for-profit?
Yeah, I work with Grameen Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but for the past 25 years, I have been also working with children, and especially children's safeguarding and helping organizations to develop their safeguarding mechanisms. Believe me, when I came in contact with Cyber Peace Foundation and Major Vineet and Major Vineet's team, I could fathom out that what is the context of the concern of cyber peace security and the cyber peace notoriety that's happening across the globe. And we learned a lot of things. And over the period of time, when I think about these things and when I came over here and refreshed those issues after listening to the panelists, and especially you, sir, I could think in this way, like we work with a lot of village women, and we talk about they get connect to the formal banking and in financial inclusion system, and they come in contact with this device, and we promote in this. And every time in such meetings, we come up with this challenge of how to tackle that they don't get into fraud of this sort of things, because their money is also involved, because banking and money is also involved. And we come up with very patchy sort of solutions. I think what discussions was coming up in this platform to make more of cyber peace professionals, and I'm sure this sort of solutions to come back. And also on the children perspectives, I still worry my daughter when she sees this mobile every evening or whenever she's free, not doing her studies, how she is exposed, like any other teen girls, that to the dangers of the internet and that gamut. So so what I mean to say here is that it is also important to make professionals like us, common professionals like us, capable enough to communicate with children the perils of this aspect also. So my heads up over here is to the panel over here and the floor is that bring the children also into the gamut of this whole thing. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, you're right. In fact, in 2017-18, along with UNICEF, we launched a report, and that was only for children, which was Children Online. This was part of NCPCR, NASCOM Foundation, and UNICEF, where we came up with this report. And what you're talking is about absolutely right, but just imagine, even if the family is poor, and I'll take a typical case which happened where a mobile was provided by someone else to a child and asked to hide it. And the kind of privacy things that got compromised over there was phenomenal. You can't even dream about it. So imagine the kind of impact it would have. And that's where it's important that, like my dear old friend, Javed Abidi, who was responsible for the RPDWD Act itself, used to say, nothing about us without us. So you're absolutely right. I think we should involve the children also to understand the perils, understand how can they be safe. So like you try to engage with children about good touch, bad touch. Similar kind of thing should be there, in schools itself to ensure that, hygiene, cyber hygiene is definitely told to them. Sure, absolutely. Agree with you completely. Sure. Sure, sir.
So, good evening. I'm General Anand, also an engineer. I correlate with what Dr. Tripta spoke of, because you spoke about certifications now with the entire workforce. CII is particularly vulnerable. But I also want to understand, when we talk about this kind of certification, who's going to ensure that the quality of the certification is up to the mark?
I will talk only about my sector, that is power sector. we have a PSO governing body, Power Sector Organization governing body, and which has academia, industry people, CA. They design all and certified that this course is relevant for certification. So whatever we are floating, like NPTA has been given this responsibility for providing certification in the power sector. So we had to actually put everything, every course content, even a single line will certified by the PSO governing board.
If I could add to that, actually, you're 100% right. Quality assurance is absolutely key. And not just that, it's also what Carla spoke about, and why these qualifications are so good is that they are quality assured by Australia's national vocational regulator. Plus also, they are mapped to our qualifications framework, which does map quite well to the qualifications frameworks being implemented here in India. That creates global relevance and workplace relevance and employability, but without robust quality assurance, whether it be by industry, as ma'am mentioned, or by an independent regulator that measures an institution, like BSI, for example, or the qualification itself against objective and clear domains which are focused on outcome, industry currency, and these things, which is what the Australian system has. That is really, really critical for these things to be really valuable, and also for companies and for industries to be assured that the person they're employing will actually do the job that they want them to do.
Well, and I'm sure that, you know, all the certifications and the pathways, of course, I haven't had a look at it, but definitely they would fall, sure, the next one is that, great. So I always jump the gun. Sorry about that. No. So definitely, I think they would be falling in line with the new Data Protection Act also that has just recently come out. So definitely that would be there. It will also cover areas which are into intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, etc., etc. What are the required for any student to move into that way? And I'm sure on that terms. And of course, once it comes, you know, backed by the Australian qualification network itself, the framework, sorry, I think automatically it holds a lot of value for the companies that are there who employ these people with these certifications. So I think today, if you look at it, do we have enough trained manpower? No. Do we have certified manpower? Definitely not. I think this is at least a step in that direction is what I feel. Those are my own thoughts. Sure.
What we need to bring in along with the certification is a feedback method. And therefore, we have to now carry out exercises where you actually carry out fake attacks.
Yeah,
and it has to be a surprise attack.
Yeah, yeah.
And then thereafter you see the response of the team. And that is where the certification actually gets certified, if I may put it that way.
No, absolutely. I think that has to happen. That has to happen. You know, as I said, it has to be online. It has to be done in that way. And believe you me, thinking like a hacker is something which is most important for the person, right? And you can't train someone to actually smell where a cyber attack has happened, because you will not come to know about it, right? Till you actually come across some signatures or something else. Ages ago, I used to be working for an online university called Universitas 21, right? The content was so high quality, and of course it was, you know, all the universities, University of Melbourne, New South Wales, Virginia, Birmingham, Nottingham, etc. Everything was combined together, a collective that was there. We used to have 1,000 attacks every day. And we had a person who was ex-NASA who was actually hired to ensure that we don't get breached. And that's what it was. So it was important. So it's important. And in fact, in this hackathon also we did, capture the flag was most important thing that we did in that exercise. So it was all hands-on. It was actually you go and one team would put in you know, a kind of a suspicious software onto the system. Other team needs to understand where it is, where it has been hacked, come up with the audit trail, and then rectify it. So yes, it has to be hands-on. Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, it was wonderful listening to all the panelists. I am representing National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology. We are body under Ministry of Electronics and IT. In fact, sir, what General had just mentioned and what we have been talking around, in NILIT, we actually do this. NILIT has its own virtual training environment in cybersecurity, and also recently we did put up a virtual training environment in cyber forensic also. We are doing some drone forensics and recently started with cryptocurrency forensics. So here we do this, we kind of simulate this kind of attacks, and we train the students as to how to mitigate those attacks. And I distinctly remember one of the training program that I did for DIPAC, which I was mentioning to the general also. Therein we brought in some kind of a specialized framework, which all of you must be knowing, the MITRE framework, which generally not most of the course curriculum covers. So we touched upon that, and we tried to tell them not only just how to make an attack, but assuming that there is an attack happening, how to mitigate those attacks. So we are in a position, I mean, that's what I was talking to a couple of other people also. NILIT can come in and pitch in that place where we can actually tell them, actually give you a kind of a scenario where you can actually work upon those. So the hackathon that you have been talking about, we have actually done that in past, but maybe we have not publicized. So that was all that from me. Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Dr. Devanshu Srivastava. Yes, a very, very crisp one. So wonderful to hear all the panelists, specifically Sinha sir. I've been following you, sir. So task, yes, we all know, Cyberabad has been the rank 1. On the other hand, we have places like Jamtara as well. So my only thing is that if we can replicate a model of what, yes, undoubtedly Hyderabad, specifically the Cyberabad that I'm reflecting, has been the one, hackathons, creating awareness right at the school level with small events with cyber peace and other things. Why can't and how can, I guess the purpose of this, how can we implicate representing we as from all three of us from the university side, the academia, but that's in higher education. So yes, there is a need at the school level education for creating that awareness. So how can we all can together in this room can join hands to make it what a model, which is a wonderful model for the state, not only for state of Telangana as well, but the entire country. How can even the small villages where, yes, he was absolutely correct that a mobile, and why we are talking as well, I guess there are 10 parallel cyber threats being handling in the world. So how can, and what can be the steps to take that thing ahead, sir?
So let me answer that very quickly, and then we could have a later discussion later on. I think what is important is catch them young. Point number 1, right? Just imagine if a grandson tells the grandparent, look, don't do this, this is not going to work for you, right? I think they will listen much faster and better. Children today are used to so much of technology, you don't need to teach them much. So involve them right in the beginning itself, right? Second thing, what you need to do is ensure, for example, in a place like Mewat, right? A mobile phone is with the, please have a seat, with the, the head of the house or head of the family in the morning. Afternoon it comes to the women of the house, then it comes to the children of the house, and then goes back to the head of the house itself, right? So how do you identify? So audit trails, etc., understanding. So everyone in the entire chain has to be cyber aware. So that will be important, and that can only happen if we keep on talking about it, we keep on mentioning about it, I think the job that is being done by Cyberpeace, especially working along with us. We also have an MOU with Telangana Police itself for Cyber Safe Telangana, right? So I think it's important for everyone to realize that, look, before the locks were made, right, in Aligarh, the key was made first, right? So we have to be very, very careful and ensure that we don't do anything. About 80 to 90% of the attacks happen because something that someone has done in the organization, right? If you go and explore something which is not safe, correct? You are letting in people to enter. So ensure that you don't permit people to enter, right? And that's what it is. It's as simple as that, right? Only thing is, logically that's what it is, but you need to understand the entire thing. And as you move up, you need to also understand that yes, today, for example, there were multiple attacks that happened across India, including, not far from here is the AIMS, right? The entire historical records, medical records were hacked, right? Which is very, very, it was not expected. But imagine what potential it has to threaten people, correct? Now that was done using blockchain, correct? Now, how would you break into a private blockchain? Correct? So you have to be one step ahead of what the hacker is doing. So you have to be thinking out of the box. My thing is, apart from cybersecurity skills, look at the competencies required for the role. And if you have the competencies, you have the aptitude and attitude for it, go for it. I think that's how hackers are created, right? So hackers, if hackers can be created, cybersecurity professionals also can be created. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, we are running late, so we can carry on with this question maybe later on. Sorry? Yes, we will do that. Right. Thank you so much once again to our all extreme experts. Thank you so much. And I would request you to all be seated. As we all are running late, of course, we know that, but we are nearing towards the conclusion of our event, and we have Major Vineet Kumar with us for his concluding remarks. Major Vineet Kumar. He's the founder and global president of CyberPeace, is a lauded social entrepreneur and social activist of national and international acclaim. He has amassed 18 years of extensive work experience in the field of internet governance and cybersecurity, and is the founder and president of CyberPeace Foundation, the founder of the Global Ethical Hackers Association, CEO and chairman of the National Anti-Hacking Group. He is an alumni of Cranfield University, United Kingdoms, where he specialized in cyber defense and information assurance, and has studied leadership at Cambridge University, UK. All yours.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for the long introduction. And good evening, everyone. Good evening to the esteemed panelists and everybody who is there, who has joined us in person and virtually. I see that we have around 2,000 YouTube users who are live and watching us. So again, good evening to all of you, and I am sure they would be from different time zones, so good afternoon, good morning, from wherever you are. So it's really a great honor for me, and what a moment to celebrate the International Day of Peace, which is today, where we are celebrating International Day of Peace with the launch of the cybersecurity certifications. Where we already heard the panelists, so I'm not going to say a lot of things because everything has already been covered from Kala to all the panelists here. But I will share a few lines, and I'm also mindful that some of the panelists have to leave, they have to catch the flight, so I'll be very precise, short for 5 minutes. So how we started CyberPeace, we started with a vision, and as the word CyberPeace suggests, it's basically an amalgamation of cyber and peace together. It's cyber and peace, where we talk about peace in the cyberspace, and it's a very broad vision with which we have started, but actually breaking into small missions, and this is one of the missions that we have achieved in the hunt for peaceful cyberspace. So basically, when we talk about cyber peace, it has various components. It starts with policy, advocacy, diplomacy. It also has the component of research. It has the component of outreach. And so far, as a non-profit organization, CyberPeace is a non-profit, not just here in India, but in America. We are also a 501c3 and also Africa, 3 global presence as of now. But we started our journey in India with the mission to actually empower people. We started with awareness program. Awareness program started with educating the school children, and that it went off as far as educating even the senior citizens, MSME startups, reaching out to those who are not being served even reaching out to villages, tribal areas through our different kind of programs. But now as we graduate, I think we started in 1998 and I started young. I was 8 when I started. And that's why when Shrikantji mentioned about CTFs and all, it's like something like memory coming back to me. Because when I started, again, in fact, I discovered bugs in a couple of good government websites and all. In fact, I was also the advisor to the NSA, M. K. Narayanan, for some time, where I used to apprise and brief him about cyber matters and how vulnerable the Indian ICT infrastructure is. And for that, I got a waiver of my certain school education and support from the government. So, but then what I mean to say is that majority of the hackers are in the age group of 8 to 18 years. And this is the lot that we are trying to target. We're trying to catch them young. Again, I'm catching on that line, which in fact has come out from the panel. We're trying to catch them young. One is to protect them about tech-based abuses like stalkerware, child sexual abuse material. There are a lot of issues. Tech is being abused in multiple manner, but tech has a lot of positives. And with the positives, there are certain negatives that come. And with programs like this, with certifications like this, we're trying to address those issues that the cyberspace has. In fact, it's something that I'd like to share here. With CBSE, CyberPeace has rolled out a handbook on cybersecurity, which is one of the highest downloaded handbooks under the CBSE website. And we actually shared that handbook with the BSI team to see if it maps to the Australian qualification or not. And happy to share that it maps, and it maps to AQF level 3. So that's something that we already have with CBSE, and I'm sure there will be many more. That's the starting point. I'll not say that awareness will stick to that. We have to go quite more. In fact, we have to go quite far. We are also working on certain certifications program, which are advanced level certification programs, like which talks about OT security, SCADA security, and a lot of other things. I'll not like to kind of share everything now. We'll like to deliver it slowly, and through time, you'll get to know all of the things that are being planned. Well, these certifications, again, are something that are not just standard certifications. We have proper skill assessment also through our own cyber range platform, where we'll assess the skill of the students, because a lot of institutions are there, they're doing certifications, but I don't see a good impact because, again, as the panel said, we get people, but then people, and they have some certification also added, like cybersecurity certification, some XYZ certification, but when we kind of assess them on a cyber range, we don't find talented individuals there. So this is one way where we plan to kind of assess them through the cyber range platform. We also have a component of psychometric testing, because there could be some hiring at critical places like critical infrastructure. We already have from NPTI, Ministry of Power. So if somebody is being hired at those locations, he or she has to be assessed properly. Psychometric testing needs to be carried out, and also we have that component also. So a lot of things being planned for industry. Again, yes, we are speaking to the industry. We're speaking to the academia. And if you see the room again, you have representation from industry, academia, civil society, and the government. All of them, all stakeholders are here. And we are speaking to everyone so that we tweak our programs in a fashion that it suits everyone. Whether it comes to non-profit, non-profits are also highly attacked. So we are actually selecting the components that would benefit the non-profit sector. When we talk about in fact, corporate, again, they have different requirements. Like I spoke to GMR, I spoke to other corporate houses. They have been mentioning about certain requirements, so which we are tweaking, mapping, and again, delivering. So that's the plan. So I'll say keep watching this space, because we'll come up with a lot of new things. I like to commit less and deliver more, and with some deliveries, you'll see us in action. So with that, again, I'm really thankful to everyone from the panelists, to all those who have joined at a very short notice, all of you who have joined, and the teams from BSI, the team from CyberPeace. I have been away throughout, so the first thing I saw, I came to the room and I just asked for an agenda so that let me see what's happening today. And so that's how things have been. I've been out of the country for a lot of time, and for a long time, and just got back today. But really thankful to everyone who have made it, who have been here with us, and lots more coming. Thank you all for your support. And I'm sure together we can come together and we can co-create a lot of things. And overall, as our mission is, as our vision is a peaceful cyberspace, maybe these certifications are the way which will pave the way forward to create a safe and resilient cyberspace for everyone. With that, I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much for a patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Vineet. And now we would like you to felicitate all our panelists. Dr. Tripta Thakur, Director General, National Power Training Institute. Mr. John Foley, Program Lead for the UK-India Cyber Program, EY. Mr. Matthew Johnston, Minister Counselor for South Asia Department of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Shrikant, CEO, Task. Here I would like to also mention the chocolates that we are having it in our hands. It has been prepared by one of our volunteers who is from the special sector. Yes, of course, of course. I will do so. Next? Yeah, I'm calling you the next. So in pursuance of clean, sustainable and green earth with a mix of technology and care for the environment, CyberPeace and BSI Learning would now like to present the speaker with a small token of appreciation and the blockchain certificate, planting a grove of 2 trees on behalf of all of our speakers. request Ms. Kala Philip to please come on the dais and introduce the exciting Cyberpeace BSI Learning Australian Cybersecurity Qualification.
So this is the most exciting part. What are we bringing to India? And it's really important to understand a few things. The Australian qualification framework is driven by industry. So it's not driven by theorists, lectures. It's actually 70-20-10 learning. 70% on the job with industry, 20% in the classroom, and 10% of skills-based self-directed learning. So it's really important to understand what the AQF framework is and why the Australian qualifications are powerful and globally recognized. And the 40-year-old vocational education system in Australia is almost giving the employer the badge or the stamp or the benchmark to say, if I'm employing this electrician or this chippy or this sparky, which is an electrician, I'm using Australian terms, that it's 100% qualified and is coming with the Australian trade certification. So a lot of the comments that we heard and listened to today, it's really important to form the basis of why an Australian qualification. So I'm going to take you quickly through a sneak preview. You'll be given some booklets. The booklets have my exact presentation in it for you to take away. Once this is done, more than happy to network post-event, talk a lot about the actual qualification, what it actually brings, what it entails, and how Cyberpeace and BSI Learning will be delivering it in India. The second option is it's transnational education. So it's very important to understand what transnational is. It's delivering our qualifications in India for India. So we talk about the scale of economies, the cost, the price, and there's a reason why the Future Skills Mission and the ethos of the Future Skills Mission is about bringing Australia to India. The affordability is really important for us, and we know Indian students, Indian professionals who want to go overseas, get a foreign education, can afford it, and they will go overseas no matter what. We're focusing on the 100 million middle class that cannot afford foreign education, but still need a globally recognized qualification to gain employment. And that's what the ethos of this program is. So we spoke about briefly, Australia has ratified the UNESCO Global Convention. So what that actually means is Australian qualifications have a recognition pathway with 21 other countries. So when you have an Australian qualification, regardless of where you've done it, in India or in Australia, you actually take that qualification with you to 21 countries around the world, and it gets mutually recognized. So that's the power we're bringing to India, and the youth in India, and the skills professionals in India. We heard a lot about cyber governance skills. And here I'd like to point out, yes, you have to do your Cisco certified security professional program. You have to do your CompTIA Security Plus. You've got to do your Microsoft programs. They're all vendor-driven security programs. Australian qualifications are not vendor-driven. They're technology agnostic. They focus on policy making, on organizational frameworks, what industry wants a qualified cyber professional to have independent of technology knowledge or technical knowledge. So the qualification, when it's built, a lot of industry bodies, AusCyber, the Australian Computer Society, the Safety E-Commissioner in Australia, get input into selecting content, into selecting curriculum, and also having a say in what kind of assessments should we actually do before they achieve competency and the qualification is awarded to a student. So these are some of the benchmarks and qualities of what we're actually going to be delivering. It is industry recognized and it is job ready. It's globally recognized. We're talking about worldwide opportunities. There's a pathway to higher education in Australia. That's the third part of the Australian qualification framework. Our kids can finish year 12, get into vocational education, and still go to university after 4 years, because there's a recognition pathway from our vocational education programs into higher education and a credit-based system. So that's already in place, and that's something that the NEP policy in India is trying to also create. So finish year 12, do a diploma or an advanced diploma, work for 3 years, and get into your master's. That's a pathway that exists for all Australian kids and professionals. There are a lot of mature age people in their 40s and their 50s that actually do their masters after years of working. The continuing professional development is a mandatory requirement in Australia. You have to prove that you've actually been going through some program every year to keep your job and to also get into promotions. So that's a significant requirement, and a lot of people use VET as that pathway. Employers in Australia cannot wait for someone to finish a year or 2 years masters to actually start doing their job. And this is where the just-in-time learning, the micro-credentialing comes in, because they're required to apply skills on the job immediately. And that's the ethos of VET in Australia. So we're launching 4 programs in India through CyberPeace. The first one is a Certificate 4, which is an entry-level program. I'll actually take you through an example of what the Certificate 4 entails. And then we've got the Diploma in IT, specialized in cybersecurity, the Advanced Diploma in IT, specialized in cybersecurity, and the Awareness Program. So Vineet spoke about a program that's run in schools at the moment, and there is a booklet that's given to every kid in school. We actually took that away when we met him last time, mapped it to a unit of competency. And that unit of competency can now be given to every child that does this program with CyberPeace Foundation if they want to. That says they've actually been cyber aware. And that unit of competency gets them into a certificate program if they want to continue. So that's something that's very exciting for us. What's the eligibility for doing these programs? Basic understanding of Windows and Linux. So you will find a lot of students in India that actually start their bachelor's in computer studies, bachelor's in IT, for example. They're almost starting in a syllabus that's teaches them how to use a device. We expect someone to have gone through at least their first or second or third year degree in IT or computer studies, because we need minimum understanding of what networking is or what hardware is, etc. And this is the basis of doing a certificate entry level program. The program that we're offering for Certificate 4 level, it's actually got 2 streams. People can specialize in network infrastructure, or people can specialize in cloud security. Now, Australian qualifications are mapped to job roles. Every job in Australia has a specific qualification and a degree or a technical certification that is a basic requirement or a mandatory requirement. So every qualification that you will find in Australia has job roles in it, in terms of what can you do after you do this particular qualification. And that actually helps a degree student or any skilled professional who wants to change careers after working for 10 years just as a network or architect, and then get into cyber specialization. So we have a lot of them who are already IT professionals with 10 years of experience that want to now specialize in IT and cyber because they want to change careers or they want to globally mobilize. So the fourth aspect of an AQF is every qualification will have core units and elective units. And it's very similar to the national certification framework that India is introducing. The core units are informed by industry. Industry tells us, if I have a graduate that's coming to do work with me, I need them to have these core competencies, and they're mandatory. So that's how it's picked by the Australian government and the skills regulator, and every provider in Australia needs to actually follow the same rules. So in your booklets, you'll see the kind of topics and modules we have as part of the core. And then we have elective 1, which is network security, and elective 2, which is cloud security. So after doing a core, the student can actually choose which stream they want to specialize in. I'd probably draw your attention to the kind of units as well. You will see that they are very heavily hands-on and practical. The labs are actually inserted into the study, and they will be assessed before we issue them with the unit. About testing skills, every Australian qualification will test skills before the qualification is issued, and those skills assessments are built into the qualification as well. So these are some of the career pathways. Every time I come to India and I speak to university students, I've come 3 times and I've visited about 7 universities, I get to know that education in India is not that poor student's decision, it's actually the parents' decision. And they want to know what's going to happen after I pay, 12 lakhs or 2 lakhs, whatever it is. So it's really important to point out the career pathways. What do I get after I finish my certificate 4? So these are some of the roles. And you can see that the wages for a vet graduate are almost equivalent to a degree graduate in Australia. It's really important to point that out. And sometimes higher. So much so that a vet graduate will never go back into university to study because they find a lucrative job after this and they keep doing high-level vet qualifications. So I've just got a snapshot of picked New South Wales as a state. And if you actually look at a few things, the cybersecurity job titles, they relate to the skills that are requested. And then you'll see how many job openings are in a particular state. And then whether they're full-time or part-time, whether they're regional or urban. And the ANSCO unit. So I get a lot of questions about migration. And I tell parents, go to the ANSCO unit, have a look at the occupations that are on the list, and then you can determine whether that's a career pathway your child wants to pursue or skilled professionals want to pursue. We spoke about AQF being recognized in multiple countries. I've picked up the cyber jobs in 3, the UK, the US, and Australia. And you can actually see the number of jobs that are available. And we spoke about bridging this skill gap of 3 million cyber professionals required. And it's really important to see the stats, and give people the opportunity to know where they can be mobile. That's the advertised salary, not just in Australia, but in the UK and the US as well for cyber talent. And this is just bringing together the roles and the salary. So you see there are very specialized roles in each country that requires certain competencies, and these competencies are provided by the qualification. The 5th element we have is connecting our graduates to possible opportunities around the world. So BSI Learning has its own specific talent pool and a talent portal, and it's called On Demand or Deal. And what it actually does is exposes our graduates to about 150 different countries. So our graduates go in there, create their profile, put up their Australian qualification that they've completed, and they get handed over to Deal. Deal exposes them to 150 countries and employees in 150 countries, and then take them on and give them possibly the skills assessment if they want to, their certification profile, and the student can choose where they want to go, what they want to do. The other thing to also understand is after finishing the qualification, if they don't want to work, but they want to continue studies, they can. So An articulation pathway is something that's really important for someone who wants to pursue higher education. They can do it in India. You know, there's new campuses established in Gift City, Deakin, and University of Wollongong, or they can go to any university across Australia because the AQF is recognized, or they can even go to UOW in Dubai, in Malaysia, in Hong Kong. So this is where we're thinking about, if you want India to be the global skills capital of the world, India, we're delivering the globally recognized qualification for the global skills capital. That's it from me, and happy to take any questions if everyone's staying back for some networking. I'm just conscious of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kala. So let's all of us get ready for the significant moment of the day. Let us now further strengthen our endeavor by launching CyberPeace and BSI Learning Australian Cybersecurity Qualifications. I now request Ms. Kala Philip, CEO BSI Learning Australia, and Major Vineet Kumar, founder of Global President CyberPeace, on the stage to launch the CyberPeace BSI Learning Australian Cybersecurity Qualifications. Thank you. Thank you so much. Vineet. Yes, of course. Colonel Seven will be mentioning. Thank you. I now congratulate the audience, esteemed dignitary speakers, and team of CyberPeace and BSI Learning for the launch of CyberPeace, BSI Learning Australian Cybersecurity Qualification. We are almost at the end of our program, but before we conclude, I would like to invite Colonel Savan Sam for the concluding remarks. Please come.
Wow. Good evening, everyone. This is indeed a very momentous occasion as we reach the culmination of this remarkable event. I stand before you with a profound sense of accomplishment and a heart brimming with gratitude. We have witnessed the launch of the Australian Cybersecurity Qualifications, a collaborative initiative between CyberPeace and BSI Learning. This certification program holds the promise of opening doors to a world of opportunities for aspiring cybersecurity professionals within India. The knowledge and skills imparted by this program will not only empower individuals, but also strengthen the global cybersecurity landscape, aligning seamlessly with our commitment to fostering a safer, more peaceful, and a resilient cyberspace. India's recent conclusion of the G20 presidency underscores the importance of cybersecurity in today's digital world. The G20, as we all are aware, is a multilateral, intergovernmental platform that unites the world's developed and developing nations, with the shared objective of enhancing and securing a future economic growth. Cybersecurity emerged and will always remain as a pivotal focus area to ensure productivity and growth in the hyper-connected present-day world. the Australian Cybersecurity Qualifications Program offers a distinctive global opportunity for Indian students, enabling them to embark on a promising cybersecurity career pathway within Australia and the rest of the world. I extend my sincere gratitude to the Australian High Commission and Austrade for their invaluable support. Your presence here today underscores the global significance of cybersecurity, and your guidance and support throughout this journey have been truly motivating. I want to make a special mention here for Mr. Vipul Rastogi. If you can just wave your hands up, please. Thank you so much. Mr. Vipul Rastogi, the Director, Investment and Trade, has been supporting us right from the conceiving the idea of having this collaboration. Thank you so much, sir. My heartfelt gratitude to the esteemed panelists who have graced us with their wisdom and insights. Ms. Catherine Gallagher, Senior Trade Commissioner and General Manager, South Asia, Austrade. Mr. Matthew Johnston, Minister Councillor, South Asia, Austrade. Dr. Tripta Thakur, Director General, National Power Training Institute, India. Mr. John Foley, Program Lead of UK-India Cyber Program. Mr. Shrikant Sinha, CEO, Task, Telangana, India. Your presence here has enriched us with knowledge, and your contributions will continue to guide us on this transformative journey. We would like to extend a special thanks and gratitude to Ms. Kala Philip, CEO, BSI Learning, Australia. Your dedication and collaborative spirit have been instrumental in making this partnership a reality and a success. Together, we are laying the foundation for a brighter future in cybersecurity education and workforce development, shaping the next era of cybersecurity learning and nurturing a new generation of professionals poised to protect the digital realm. I want to express my profound gratitude to Major Vineet Kumar, the founder and president of CyberPeace Foundation. Vineet, your vision and unwavering commitment to cybersecurity excellence has been the driving force behind this collaboration. So thank you so much. Your leadership has been inspirational for all of us. To all the esteemed dignitaries and guests, we extend our deepest thanks for sparing your valuable time and supporting us in making this event a grand success. In closing, I wish to extend my thanks to the entire organizing team from BSI Learning and CyberPeace for their tireless efforts and unwavering dedication. We are truly grateful for your commitment in making this event a superb success. Thanks to the people joining us online. I would like to give the correct figure. We just had 6,000 plus people across India joining us online for the launch. With these closing words, we conclude today's seminar. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being an integral part of this momentous occasion. Good evening and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Colonel Saban. I now request everyone to join us for a wonderful evening at Delhi Gymkhana for the celebration of the successful launch of CyberPeace and BSI Learning Australian Cybersecurity Qualifications. Let us all now brighten our night with our inner radiance. So here we are. I request everyone to please scan the QR code for the Google map. Gymkhana, but still, in case anybody who doesn't know, you may please scan the QR code for the Google Map location of Delhi Gymkhana Club. See you all at 6:30 p.m. at Jamun Tree, Delhi Gymkhana Club. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.